Hi everybody, welcome to another Profoto webinar. I'm Mark Wallace. Today we're going to be talking about using a Profoto B1 and just one single light and a bunch of different lighting setups. And we want you to participate with us when we're doing this. You can ask questions live. I'm actually looking at a live feed of what's happening right now. And so if you want to ask questions during the webinar, you can just go to profoto.com/live. And there is a little box there that you can actually type in questions. We have people that are watching from Profoto that are going to be helping answer questions. As you know, so if I can't get to it, they can actually type stuff in and get to you. And then they're going to be forwarding stuff to me so I can read those as well. And so we're going to be doing that. So we really want you to participate and ask lots of questions. This is going to be all about using a single light source. We're going to just be using one light. This is a Profoto B1, and we're going to be using this in the studio today. We're going to be shooting with soft boxes and beauty dishes and all kinds of stuff, no modifiers. We're going to have all kinds of stuff. It's going to be really awesome. And so actually we've got a terrific model. You've seen her before. Her name is Alexis Catherine. Come on out, Alexis. I just call her Lex. She's here. And so she is going to be our model. We have an assistant here. Ugo, come on out. And then we have a special guest in the studio today. So Jared, come out here. This is my twin brother. He's not really my twin brother, but this is Jared Platt. So he is a well-known wedding photographer, and you're going to be at WPPI in a couple weeks. Is that right? Yeah, teaching stuff. And so he might be showing up on some of these Profoto webinars in the future. So anyway, he's hanging out with us, so get out of here. I just wanted to say he was here because he's so cool. Anyway, what we want to do is we want to start by describing how one light works. And the essentials are, if you have one light and you dial that single light in and you understand how you can modify the light, then what you'll find is when you start adding multiple lights, you can be much, much more successful in your lighting. It doesn't matter if you're lighting in the studio or if you're lighting on location. Mastering one light is really the key to being a phenomenal photographer. And I know Zach Arias and others have done entire workshops for days on one light. And so this is something that we could spend hours and hours on. We're going to do it in 1 hour, but we could spend days on this topic. So what I want to do is I want to start by talking about two things. The first is the direction of light, or the position of light, because that will determine if your light is flat or contrasty or all kinds of things. So I'm going to describe that. And then we're going to talk about how you can take that position of light and then use a light modifier to change the look of the light. And that's really what we're going to be doing today. So let's start by talking about position of light. And so the position of light, it's always in relationship to the position of your camera. So I'm going to draw a little diagram here. And this assumes that we are looking from the top down. And so if we have, let's say, our camera, this is our camera right here. There's the lens. And I'm a horrible artist, so I can't really draw. So there's my camera. That's a camera. Pretend that's a camera and a lens, all right? So it's pointing this way. And let's say this is top down. This is our model. Put a little nose on there, some shoulders. That's Lex. So if we had light that was right here, and it was pointing toward our model, this is called front light, okay, front light. And what front light does, front light, because it's on axis, it's the same, it's lined up with the lens, what that does is it evenly illuminates your subject from left to right. And so when you're in line with the camera, what you get is our low contrast sort of flat images because there are really no shadows. So there's no shadow from left to right. It's evenly illuminated. And so that's called front light. That works great for things that are really colorful. But what happens is because there's no shadow, you don't have any contrast. And contrast is the difference between the brightest and the darkest area in an image. And so to get more contrast, what you can do is you can move that light over here, and you can shoot this from the side. So what that's going to do is now you're going to have light on this side of your subject and none on this side. So this side is going to be bright and this side is going to be dark. And so you increase the contrast. And so if we keep going, this is called side light. Side light. If we keep going and we put a light back here, then what we have, this is called backlight. Backlight. And so what that does is it gives us a silhouette. So we have all this light behind the model, none on the front, so this is dark, and this is bright behind. So what we have is front light gives us low contrast, this gives us high contrast, and this gives us maximum contrast. And if we keep going over here, we have side light from the other side, and we have nice contrast, and we go down here, we lower our contrast. What happens, though, when you're moving your light around, you might not want to have super high contrast. You want to have something in the middle, because what that does it gives us what's called form. It gives us 3 dimensions to our subject. And so you might want to put a light over here in the 45 because it'll give us some shadow, but not so many shadows that it looks like Nosferatu or something that's really old, scary film. And so just remember, when you're positioning your light from left to right, low contrast, middle contrast gives you some form, high contrast, maximum contrast, and all the way around. So moving the position of your light changes your contrast, gives you form, gives you depth, and it's really cool. The other thing, this has a relationship between color, and so normally when you're shooting scenes that are really brightly colored, lots of flowers, fields that have color to them, normally you want front light because it's very friendly to color. If you're shooting something that's black and white, you want high contrast. You want to have shadows that are deep and sharp, and so what you tend to do is put lights to the side. And so the position of your light also correlates to how you color your images. So lots of color, more front light, less color, black and white, you want more side light. And so you can also take that into account. The other thing to remember is I'm drawing this from the top down, and so we're just talking about left to right position. But don't forget, there's also up and down position. We have 360 degrees of light, and that's the same thing. So if you have light that's equal to the camera, that's sort of front light, low contrast. But as you increase the height of that, then the shadows are going to start becoming larger and larger, and so your contrast is going to increase by putting that light either higher or lower. And so higher light is more consistent with natural light, lower light is more consistent with unnatural light, like spooky, scary flashlight light, or lights from candles, lights from campfires, and things like that. So don't forget, this is left to right, but we also have up and down that work with that. So to really dial this in, Lex is going to come out here, and I want to show you this. So Ugo, let's grab this really fast. So Lex, if you can go stand back there on the little X. What I'm going to do is we're going to actually shoot some photos. And here we go. We're going to shoot some photos. Now what I've done here is I am using the Profoto B1, and if you saw the very first Profoto B1 webinar we did a couple months ago, I walked through all the things that I'm going to be doing today on the settings and stuff. But just so you know, I'm shooting in full TTL mode. I'm not using a light meter at all. This is in full TTL mode, and so we're going to let the light figure out the exposure. Now, as we go today, you'll see that I'm going to be making flash exposure compensation adjustments. If you don't know what that is and you need more information, then just go zip over to our very first webinar, and that will help out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to sort of stick it over like this, and I'm going to raise this up, and I'm going to shoot an on-axis photo. So what that means is the camera and the lens are in alignment. So that's what I'm going to do. So notice that, I'll line this up, the camera and the lens, the lens and the flash, the camera and the lens are usually lined up, but the lens and the flash are in alignment, they're on axis, and this is going to give us front light. And I'm shooting into Lightroom here, and it looks like I am good to go. Okay, so I'm going to take this shot real fast, and this is just going to be a close-up shot of Lex. And you can see here, when this pops in, this is going to pop in here in a second. Okay, what we have here, this is very flat front light. And notice that there aren't really any shadows on her face. We have like a nice shadow under her chin, but it's just low contrast light. There's really no difference between the light on the left side of her face and the light on the right side of her face. This is what's called generally flat light, or nasty light, or unflattering light. This is the kind of light that usually you want to avoid because it just doesn't have any shape, there's no form, there's nothing there. So what I'm going to do next is let's demonstrate what side light looks like. So I'm going to take this, we're going to zip this over here just to the side, so this is at a 90-degree angle. Remember, this is in relationship to our camera, and what I'm going to do here is we'll take another shot, and if you'll look right in the lens there we go. Good. Okay, so now we have this shot, and this is to the side, and this is going to pop in here in a second. And we can see that now we have much higher contrast. The light on the left side or the right side of her face on the screen is really bright, and the light on the other side of her face is really dark. Now we're getting some light spill because we've got white walls that's bouncing back on the other side of her face, but you can see that our contrast increased significantly between these two pictures here. You can see that that really, really changed. Let me see if I can make this full screen. There you go. So we see the contrast went up in the second shot. Now what I'll do here is I'm going to roll this back over here. Okay, We'll have this right here, and this is going to be right, perfect. It's going to be backlight. And what we'll do here is we'll take one more shot. Awesome. It's like that. And now what we have is, when this pops in, we've got that silhouetted kind of look. Now we have a lot of stuff bouncing off the floor here, so you can see sort of that. In fact, we have our video lights on. Let me take one more shot here. And what I'm going to do here is see if I can get rid of some of this video light that's spilling in, just to give you a sense of what's happening here. There we go. All right, so I closed down the aperture a little bit so we can get rid of some of that ambient light. And you can see on that one we have much more of a silhouette going on there. So those are our positions of light. And so having that sort of in your tool belt and understanding what happens when you move light and contrast, that's really going to help us out when we start working with our single light. Because if we want to have more shape, more form, we can move that light to the side. If we want to have a little bit more colorful, we'll move it to the front. We can do that. Now the other thing that will happen with our light, we have our position of light to change sort of the contrast, but we also have over here, we've got all kinds of light modifiers that we're going to be working with. So we've got small soft boxes, I guess we're over here. This guy right here. We've got a beauty dish over here that we're going to be working with. And what these do is it changes the quality of our light. And so the larger a light is, the more it can surround the subject, the more light spills into the shadows, and the softer that light becomes. And the smaller a light is, the more directional that light is, the harder the shadows are. And so we can control things, and we can do all kinds of really cool things. And I want to show you that today. I think we have like 6 or 7, something like that. I don't know how much time we're going to have to get all through this. We've got an hour, but we're going to try to get through at least 6 setups to show you this stuff. The other thing I'm using here is a grid. We'll show you the difference between having a grid on something like this and a grid off. You can sort of see how that changes the light. It's going to be really, really cool. All right, Ugo, let me give you this. So there you go. Thank you. So the first setup that we're going to do, we're going to do this first one, and then after we're done with that, we will take some questions. But the very first setup we're going to do, if you could bring that over, Ugo, is an on-axis setup. And so what we have here, and if you can grab that reflector a little bit, we have a background here, and this background is a piece of wood. It's highly reflective. This is called Luan. And Ugo, can you grab this 4x6 and maybe stick it in the corner, because I think it's getting in the way of that camera. So I'll help you out there, Lance. We've got a huge softbox in the way. The Luan, what it does is it will actually, it's almost like a mirror. So this is really high gloss paint. And so what we're going to do is we're going to shoot on axis. And normally on axis, what we would want is we would want something that's really colorful. But what we're going to do is we are going to actually shoot on axis light, and we're going to shoot it in black and white. And we're going to get away with that because this background is highly reflective. So I know I told you at the very first that you want to shoot front light and use things that are really colorful. And the very first thing I'm going to do is break that rule and shoot something that is actually black and white. And so to do this, I already have a preset that I've created in Lightroom. And so I called it on axis black and white. And so as I'm shooting, Lightroom is going to change the look of this from color to black and white. So you'll see that coming in here. Okay, so Lex is going to be just a little bit in front of that. So she's only about, I'm going to have you zip to the center. So right there, yeah, there you go. She's only about maybe a foot in front of this. So that's going to give us a lot of reflections on the back. This guy right here, I'm going to set exactly like I did before, just right over the lens. And we're going to shoot some cool stuff here. Okay, so this is our first setup. And also, I have this set. I don't want to smash you in the face, Lex, but when I move this, you can see that the height of this is right about where her face is. So I don't want to have it too high or too low because I want it to be where the shadows are being eliminated on her face. So it's slightly above her eye line. And the reason for that is I want to have it just right above my lens. So that's about where we are. All right, and I have this set in aperture priority mode. In manual mode. And we're going to shoot this, I think we're going to shoot this at about, we'll shoot it at 2.8. So we're going to let our aperture open wide up. By the way, if you hear some noise going on, there is a brand new warehouse being installed next door, and so it's sort of, we might have some noise spillage. Okay, so instead of 2.8, I think I'm going to shoot this at 4.5. I think that's where we'll start. So I'm zooming in. So I'm in manual mode, shooting at 200th of a second, 4.5 TTL metering on axis light. So look straight into the lens, Lex. Perfect. Just like that. And then I'm going to do one more where we have a vertical shot. And we'll play with this a little bit. And this is going to be right above the knees. There we go. Awesome. Good. Good, good, good. And this highly reflective background here sort of gives us this vignette here. So you can see as these come in, it's coming in color, and then here's black and white. And we can see that we have this really awesome effect. And notice the shadow underneath her chin when this comes in and the raw gets converted. You can see that it's just a very, very small shadow underneath her chin. And I've added some grain to this so we can get a really cool look here. But just an on-axis light, very, very quick down and dirty. We've got two shots that I really like, side by side there. And there's our first setup, just like that, bam. And we just basically shot it in full auto mode on that camera, on that flash. It's pretty cool. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to check to see if we have questions. And remember, if you want to ask questions, there is the little chat window at profoto.com/live. That's where you throw things in there. Okay, so question number one, which camera works with the B1? So all cameras work with the B1 using the hot shoe and using it in manual mode. So it's got two different modes. You can shoot in manual mode, just like any studio strobe. So all cameras work like that. And then if you want to use TTL mode, right now Canon is supported. Nikon is going to be coming a little bit later in this year. So watch the Profoto website. So it's a little bit later in this year. So I'm using the TTL control. You can also use just the Air Remote. So that's what this guy is right here. I think in the first webinar we actually shot with this guy on a Fuji camera, Fuji X Pro 1. And so we've got, you can use it on any camera if you're in manual mode. But the TTL stuff, it's Canon right now. Nikon is coming. All right, number two. Is the Air Remote TTL-C working on a Nikon in manual mode? So no, you do not want to do that. The TTL-C stands for Canon. You don't want to put that on a Nikon, and that's not good. So if you want to use the AirSync, use this guy that I just showed you right here. This is just the Air Remote. If you are shooting with the Nikon or any other brand, just use the normal Air Remote, and that's going to work for you. Okay, you can also, by the way, if you have a Pocket Wizard system that you've been using for years and know and love, and you want to do that, there is a sync port. And so you can, just like the D1 had, just like any flash, you can just throw a Pocket Wizard or a Cowboy, whatever trigger those are used. You can trigger this however you want, or just a sync cable. That'll work as well. Last question here. Will the B1 have enough power to use a giant softbox like that? Of course, that's why we're doing it. Yeah, it's 500 watt seconds. And the thing about Profoto heads is they're really efficient at converting that energy into light. So some brands, and I won't mention the names of those brands, but I did a bunch of testing. At the same amount of watt seconds, we were getting about double from our Profoto gear that we were from other brands, because what happens is you have a conversion from energy to light, or energy to heat. And so Profoto is really efficient at energy to light. It's really good. Okay, so the next setup we're going to do here is we are going to shoot with the beauty dish. So Lex is going to come back out. And Ugo, if you can move that back over there where it was. Awesome. So what we're going to do here, we're going to do some side light. And this beauty dish, have that, thanks. This has a grid on it. And so what the grid is going to do is it's going to give us nice soft light, but it's going to allow us to control where that light falls. So if you notice, we have back here this white background. And so we want to sort of control that. We don't want to have the light falling completely on the background. We just want to have a hint of that light on the background. So here's what we're going to do here. We're going to stick this on there. That's awesome. Just like that. And, okay. We have that there. And then Lex is going to help me position this a little bit. And so she's going to look in there and see if this is pointing at her. And there we go. Yeah? Good?
Up a little bit.
Up a little bit? Good. Okay, cool. Just like that. Now we're going to get a little bit of spill on the background, but not a lot. We're not going to have just a bunch of light falling back here. So I want to sort of restrict that light. In fact, I'm going to move this just a little bit more. And then you might have to move yourself in. There you go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a profile shot. And before I do that, I'm going to take off this preset in Lightroom because we don't want it to come in as black and white. We want it to come in as just a normal preset. Okay, so we're going to do that, and this will be sort of fun. All right, so Lex is going to look into that light, and I have my, my camera set on this one. We're shooting at 2.8. I think on this one, actually, I'm going to shoot at about 6.3 because I want to really restrict the ambient light. And that's all we're going to do. So look right into that light. Beautiful. There we go. All right, so that's all I did. I just took one shot, no metering. And here is that side shot there. Now, the nice thing about this, notice how we don't have a lot of light falling on the background. And that's what that grid is doing for us. And now that I have this set, what I can do, I like this exposure. It works for me. So we're going to have you stay there for just a second. I can start working with this because remember what we talked about, the position of the light and the camera. The light's always in relationship to the position of the camera. Well, you can change the position of light by just changing where you are in relationship to this. So right now we have this nice profile shot. But what happens if I take my camera off my tripod? And what I'm going to do here is now I'm going to move over just a bit. And Lex, if you can take one step forward. There you go. And then turn your head toward me just a little bit. There you go. Beautiful. Okay. And then even more toward me. There you go. Just like that. Excellent. And look into my lens, please. There you go. Excellent. Okay. I want to show you these pictures really fast. And the nice thing about this, a couple of nice things. Notice the background is completely black. Not in this one. We can see a little bit of this over here. But in this one over here, we've got this totally black background. What we're doing is we're using the properties of something called the inverse square law, where the light just drops off, and we're getting that dark, dark background. And also, because our beauty grid, our beauty dish has a grid on it, we're restricting where that light falls. And so we have these really nice high contrast images. We could go into our develop module in Lightroom if we wanted to. We could do some things like maybe take the saturation down on this, take it all down. You can do just a little bit of a desaturated look there, and we get sort of that old-timey kind of feel. We could open up our shadows a little bit to get a little bit more of her hair to come in there. You know, there's all kinds of things that we could do with this photo, but we have the light to begin with to start manipulating that, which is really, really cool. Okay, we're going to keep chugging along because I want to make sure we get enough lighting setups in here to make this worth your while. So what I want to show you next is what happens when we take that grid and when we remove it and then we put our light on axis. And so before we do that, I need to make sure that there are no questions. And I'm totally aware that I have a moire pattern evidently going on. We tried it, we tested it, and I didn't have a moire, but evidently when we encode it for Ustream, I've got some crazy, so we're getting that. I can't change shirts in midstream, so sorry. See, this or shirtless. All right, so how many flashes does the B1 give you on full power and on low power? Okay, so on low power, I think the number is about, and this is crazy, 50,000 flashes, somewhere around there. It is really crazy. You can just shoot on the lowest power setting all day long. It just goes and goes and goes and goes. On full blast, you get 220 full power flashes. So yeah, let me make sure that's right. Yeah, 50,000 is on the lowest setting, 220. So actually 50,001 is what they're telling me. But yeah, you can just go all day long. Now I shoot in the studio all the time. And the nice thing about these guys is they have a little battery that you can just pop off and pop on. And with a rapid charger, it takes about 2 hours to fully charge a battery. So what I normally do is I just have a battery on there and I'm shooting I've never actually run out of juice, but if I did, I would take a battery off and throw the next one on. Now, Jared, actually, wedding photographer, he's been shooting, and he told me that he shot a wedding a couple weekends ago with the B1 and shot all day long, and shot the wedding, shot the like all the family portraits, all that kind of stuff, the stuff before the wedding, the bride and the groom and the family and all that kind of stuff, all the way into the end where there was a reception that had no real lighting. He was bouncing off walls, and he shot into the night, and then it died on the first battery. And he could have flipped the battery out, but I think he forgot the second battery. Is that what it was, Jared? Yeah.
No, I just,
so,
I just used the other.
Oh, he just used the other head. That's what it was. Yeah. So he just went, had no issues at all. So real life experience. And that's actually why I wanted to introduce Jared, because he's using this stuff on location in ways that I haven't. And so hopefully we can get him to talk about his experiences, because it's pretty darn cool. All right. What we're going to do next is we are going to shoot with the beauty dish on axis. So Lex, you ready for that? All right. Lex is going to come on out. Ugo, you ready to take this from me? There you go. You can put that over there. Okay. So on this guy, all we're going to do here is we're going to rotate this just a little bit. And so what we're going to do here is raise this up just a hair. Yeah. If you're wondering what I'm putting in my back pocket there, that's my cheat sheet to know what I'm supposed to be shooting next, because we've got a lot of stuff to go. All right, I put that about right there. And the thing with this is I want sort of a dreamy, ethereal look. So Ugo, I want my 1.2 lens there, please. I'm going to change lenses, and I'm going to shoot with an 85 millimeter f1.2 lens. If you can take this really fast. There you go. So this is going to give us extreme shallow depth of field. Also, I want to show you this because I want to show you that these flashes are pretty versatile. So what you can do with these flashes is you can use, you can shoot at f22, but you can also shoot with wide open apertures. And so that's really cool. So I'm going to bring this over here. And on this guy, I know that we have a through the lens metering problem baked in. So this flash uses TTL metering. So let me give you full disclosure on what I'm doing. This flash, when it fires, the camera is going to try to expose this to be white. And so what will happen, or to be gray. And what's going to happen is it's going to overexpose everything. So Lex is going to be totally overexposed. So what we'll use is flash exposure compensation to fix that. So what we'll do here, just so you can see what's happening, is I'm going to go back to my Lightroom here, and I've got a preset that I really like that I created. And so this is called Desaturated Beauty Dish. So when we're shooting, we're going to shoot with this preset called Desaturated Beauty Dish, and you'll see as it comes in what's happening. So this very first shot here, we're just going to use the through the lens metering as it stands with no adjustments. Okay? And then for this, because we're shooting at a 1.2 aperture, Ugo, if you'll shut off the lights, please. We have to shut off our video lights, because if we don't, we're going to get a lot of extra light here. So now we have that video light there. So I'm just going to shoot this with no exposure compensation whatsoever, and this is going to be a very nice, perfect, just like that. All right. And so I told you that we were going to have exposure problems, but guess what? We don't have any exposure problems. It came in, it looks great, just like it should. And that is the shot just right out of the box with the beauty dish at f1.2. And I really love this soft image. Now the thing with this lens is it is really picky on the depth of field. So I need to shoot again, because you can see that I got the side of her eye is in focus, but her eyeball is not. And so I need to shoot a couple more to make sure we have something that is absolutely crisp. So we'll shoot one more time here. I'm using my autofocus point right on her eye. I'm composing and trying not to move, because this guy is so extremely particular. So we can see that we're getting these really soft, beautiful images here. And when this guy pops in, we're going to desaturate it and make it a little bit blue. Now you can see that her eyes, beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. So we have something that we can go in and we can start doing some retouching to. I'm going to do one more shot here, and I'm going to do this a vertical shot just because it's such a beautiful image. I love it. And so we're going to just do a quick... I'm using a tripod to make sure that I don't mess up my depth of field, because with a 1.2 lens, you can really mess things up by accidentally moving your camera. Beautiful. All right. And I would play with that a little bit more if I had some time, but here's the vertical shot. Again, just a beauty dish, nothing else, with this white background, and you can see that's pretty cool. See if I got my focus set. Oh, I did, yay. So that's the shot that we just got. How beautiful is that? Now the thing about this is we have this shadow underneath her chin, which is caused because the beauty dish is above her eye line. So I want to get rid of that. I want this to be even more high key. The other thing I love about the beauty dish is, see this specular highlight, this catch light in her eye? It's round. I love that. And so with the softbox, you get square, you get square catch lights. I really like the round catch lights of a beauty dish. So what we're going to do next is we're going to shoot this exact same thing. I've got a different preset here, and I'm going to set this into... All right, cool. So I have another one that I created just for the reflector. We're going to shoot with that really fast. So Ugo, if you have the reflector, please. We're going to shoot that. So the reflector right there. Yeah, put the lens on the shelf and grab the reflector. Ugo's going as fast as he can. There we go. Yeah. So we're going to put a reflector underneath her chin there, just like that. Let's see how the flash exposure compensation does on this. So, or the TTL metering. Sometimes the TTL metering will get this wrong, and if it does, we'll adjust for it. So on this, we'll take a look. I think we need to adjust our exposure just a hair, but let's see how it looks when it comes in. Yeah, you can see that the highlights on her face are blown out just a tad on her forehead, just a little bit. And if we look at our histogram, you can see that it's okay. We don't have any... We've got just like a couple of things over here, so we're probably okay, but I want to have just a little less blown out on her forehead. So what I can do there, if I want to take that down just a little bit, I can take my flash exposure compensation. I'm just going to adjust that by a third stop. So 1/3 stop less light is what I'm telling my camera. And the flash gave me a little warning, because it was at full power, or it was charged up to a power setting that needed to be changed. So here's the next shot that we had. And so I'll show you this before and after shot. And then we can turn the lights back on. Jared, if you can get that. There we go. Yeah, so we have the shot on the left was the specular highlights a little bit brighter than I want. The shot on the right, it's only just a smidge less light. So you can see that we have that. So let's take a look really fast. I want to show you, as we're doing this in real time, it's sort of like, yeah, that's what we have. But look at the differences between the shots that we're getting. We have, out of the box, 3 totally different looks that we've been able to shoot in the span of half an hour, not even half an hour. For my money, I like this shot right here best so far, because it's just sort of stunning. So we've got these 3 different looks that are pretty cool. But that's not enough. We want more than that. So we're going to keep doing it. So let me see exactly what we have here coming in as questions. Don't forget, you can ask tons of questions. You can ask anything you want, and we will look at this. Okay, so can you plug the B1 into a normal outlet on the wall, so a normal mains, while you're in the studio? And I love these questions because they're coming from overseas, I can tell, because it's like, can you plug the B1 into mains electric whilst in the studio? So that's my best accent. No, you can't do that. They're battery powered only, and so you have to use the battery that comes with that. It's really easy to change those batteries out. It's really, really fast, and so it takes all of 3 or 4 seconds. Am I shooting with a neutral density filter? No, I'm not. That's the crazy thing about these flashes, that they have such a range of power. I can shoot with a 4x6 softbox like this at full blast, and this is a giant softbox, look at that. So I can shoot with something this large and have enough power to fill this edge to edge with light and still shoot at aperture values of 16, something like that. And I can dial that flash all the way down and shoot at a 1.2. So I was shooting at 200th of a second, f1.2, ISO 100. It's crazy, I know. It's just got this broad range. It works really well. How do you control the lights with a 1.2 aperture? So that's what we just talked about. So it's a 9-stop range. So that means that, you can shoot at an f1.2, or you can go up to something that's an aperture of, I think we were shooting outside on, we did a video where we were shooting into the sunset. We were shooting, I think, f25, something like that, outside on location. So you've got crazy range. It's insane. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, let me just check to make sure we don't have any other questions here. Okay, no more questions there. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to use this huge 4x6 softbox. And so we're going to put this over here. And just to save time, what I did was I put this on a different head, so we wouldn't have to take it off and put it on a different head. And so there it is. And to make sure I don't fire 2 flashes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this head off. Okay, good. So we're just going to switch heads really fast. And we're going to zip over. And then also, Ugo, I need the lens back, please. Needing the lens. That would be great. So my f1.2 lens, take that. There you go, thank you. So now I'm shooting back with my 70 to 200 lens. And on this, I'm going to reset my flash exposure compensation, so I'm at nothing. And I'm going to zip over here so we can shoot. Now the other thing that I want to point out is normally if I was in the studio shooting and doing something like this, we would not be going at this pace, right? We wouldn't just do like wham, wham, there's the picture, here you go, on to the next one. We would stay and sort of let things settle in, and we would be doing something that, we'd work with Lex, and she would give us different looks, and we might try different wardrobe and all that kind of stuff. But what we're trying to do today is just show you how quickly we can go from one setup to the other. All right, so this guy is set to just full auto, so full TTL metering. Lex is going to zip over here, and she's going to be out on the side. I'm going to raise this up just a little bit so it's a little bit more flat. There we go. I love working with this. This is the softbox I work with most because it's just so versatile. I think I could do a full day on just this softbox, to be honest with you. But we don't have a full day, so we're just going to do something. All right, and if you can come to just the very edge of that, there you go. So what we want to do here is we want to have nice edge-to-edge, even light. And so we have blue on red. So we're going to shoot probably above the knees because if you look, I don't know if you can see the floor is not great. It's sort of like not the perfect floor. But what we're doing here is we're setting this into a place. I'm going to have you move to the right just a hair, where this light is so soft, it's just going to sort of surround. And it's going to give us nice wraparound light. And then what we might do is on the other side here, if we just need a little kick of light here, we can just add a reflector. And reflectors are phenomenal because basically you're getting a second light for the price of a reflector. So it's the big, huge, tall one on the ground there. Ugo, that's the one we're going to use. So if you can get that ready for me. All right, so we're going to shoot this. And this guy right here, we are just going to shoot it. So I'm going to raise up my camera. And yeah, just leave it right there for a second, Ugo. I'll set this guy up. There we go. Now I've caught up with myself, sorry. All right, so we're going to shoot right into this. And this one here, we're going to shoot at 6.3. So a nice 6.3 aperture, so it's not super wide, it's not super, there we go, yes. Smile. Perfect, perfect. Now what we can see from this, when this guy pops in here, is we're going to have nice soft light from one side. But because of where I've placed the light here, and I'm going to increase the saturation here on this, a little bit more saturated. Yeah. So actually, I'm sorry, I had this set to the same desaturated look we had before. Okay, there we go. Nice saturated colors. Notice that we have a lot of shadows on her right side, and so we want to fix that. But before we do, let me show you how we can play with that. So Lex, I want you to turn into that light, and yeah, they're building next door. It's great. And turn into a little bit more so you're just facing it. There you go. Just like that, and then take about a half step this way. You know, they only work and do construction when you're doing a live show. Isn't that just the case? It's like crazy. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but they're hammering right behind Lex. Excellent. So make sure you turn into that. There you go. Good. Perfect. Good. Yeah, and by turning her shoulders into that light, what we were able to do is to take those shadows and make them look a little bit less dramatic. And darn it, I got to turn off this desaturated preset. There it is. So if we look at these two side by side, you can see that what we did was we had lots of shadows on her face on the first one. Just by turning her into the light a little bit, we were able to minimize those. But there's another trick we can do, and that is to use a reflector. And so if you go back to your first position, this is a silver reflector, and I got this actually from Calumet. They don't make them anymore. So California Sunbounce makes some like this. I know B&H has some, Adorama has some. There's all kinds of big reflectors. So this is about a 6.5 foot, something like that, tall by 3.5 foot wide, something like that reflector. And I love it because it's got black on one side. That's called a subtraction panel. So if you want to augment the shadows, we would put the black side to Lex. If we want to eliminate shadows, we put the silver side to Lex. And so, Ugo, if you come over here, I'm going to have you move this back and forth a little bit close and a little bit far away. And so now we have this light. And I'm also going to feather this light a little bit more. So I'm moving it a little bit more toward that reflector. And what we want is nice, soft light. Perfect. Just like that. Give me a little smile. That's awesome. Awesome. That's good. And then bring that in just a little bit closer, Ugo. There you go. Stop right there. Perfect. Good. Good, good. Now, we can see on this next shot here, as it comes in, is this the last shot I took? I think so. Yeah. There we go. We've eliminated those shadows, a lot of those shadows on the other side of her face, but not so much that we still don't have some form to her face, which is really nice. And again, because we're shooting in RAW, we've got so much latitude to play with this, change the exposure. We could take those reds, we can make them pop just by doing some Lightroom adjustments. You know, we can do all kinds of stuff here that allows us to do that. So that's our 4x6 setup. There's some other things we could do with that, but we want to keep moving along to make sure that we have everything. Another trick, while Lex is doing that, with a shot like this, one of the things I really like to do, and it's controversial, is I like to change my clarity. Clarity sort of changes your contrast and sharpness and all kinds of things all at once, and I like doing that with a shot like that because it really brings the form out. So Matt, go back to this shot really quickly. And what you can see is, look at the detail in her shirt, especially over here where all these shadows are. When I change my clarity in Lightroom up and down, you can see how that really augments those creases and the folds of her shirt. And so what that's doing is, because we have nice soft side light that's at about a 45, we're getting what's called form. We're seeing shadows that show us the depth of something. And by increasing that clarity a little bit, we're really punching that out. So it's really, really nice. Okay, let's see if we have some questions to make sure that this works. Because the next setup is something that I love. So it's something that well, let me get to these questions and then we'll get there because we're almost out of time. So can you use the B1 with speed lights using transmitters like a Pocket Wizard? Okay, yes, you absolutely can. Now here's the problem. You can't use the Pocket Wizard Mini and Flex system to use TTL metering with your Canon or Nikon Speedlight, and also use TTL metering in your Profoto B1. So the TTL systems speak absolutely two different languages, and so you can't shoot them in TTL mode. So if you're thinking maybe you could have a Mini and Flex, and the Flexes are shooting in TTL mode, and maybe you have another Pocket Wizard in manual mode triggering this, you're going to run into problems. And so what you need to do is shoot everything in manual mode. Everything in manual mode. And that would work for you. Okay? I think that's the last question there. Okay. Now the other thing that the other question I get a lot, and so Ugo, if you can sort of strike this for me, is how do you shoot groups? Is it possible to shoot a group with one light? And the answer is yes, we can absolutely shoot a group with one light. And so I'm going to show you how to do that right now. We have an umbrella that I will show you. Here it is. Now there's all kinds of different umbrellas that you can use. Ugo, if you can take that beauty dish off and get that sort of ready for me. This umbrella here it's called the XL Silver Deep. And Profoto makes several different sizes and flavors of umbrellas. So there's silver, it has more specular highlights to it. There's white, a little bit softer, less specular light. There are deep umbrellas, and the deeper umbrellas, because they're so deep, they have a narrower angle of light being thrown, so you can control that light better as far as the direction is concerned. And then there are shallow umbrellas, and that shallow umbrella throws more diffused light, and then there are different sizes. So the larger the light source, the softer the light, the smaller the light source, the harder the light. And so because there are so many different to choose from, you can really shape the light based on what you want. And again, we could do an entire webinar just on the different umbrellas that we're going to be using. Now this guy right here is a Deep XL, and it is pretty large, as you can see. And it has a shape, see if I can show that. See that? It's almost a parabolic shape there, which means that the light that's coming out is very directional. It's not an exact parabolic umbrella. They do have a parabolic umbrella, but this is going to have very, very directional light. And so what I'm going to do is, using the inverse square law, I'm going to shoot with this umbrella way back. And we're going to put Lex on white, and we're going to get a completely white, shadowless background with one light. And then if we wanted to, using the same principles, we could put 15 people on there and it would still work. So we need to set this up really fast. So Ugo, if you'll hold this for me, I'll get this really fast. And I'm going to need you to hold something else for me. Hold this for me. Got it? All right, good. Okay, so now if you give me that umbrella, perfect. And you can just put that down somewhere. Don't you love being able to say, do this, do that, do this? Crazy. So we're going to put this, and Lex, if you come on over to the background. And before we put this up, Ugo, if you will help me with this white background, just grab the bottom of that, and we're going to roll it out to about right there. So just grab the bottom of it from the center. There we go. That's good right there. At the very end of the roll, like that. Okay. So what we're going to do is, we're going to have Lex, she's going to stand, and she's going to get footprints on this, and so normally we'd throw down a cloth and do all kinds of stuff to keep this pristine, but we're in a hurry. So Lex is going to stand where she is almost on the crease of this. So not quite, because we don't want to tear it, but she's pretty darn close to the background. And that's the key, that's the key to this setup. And the reason for that is the inverse square law. As light is falling off, we know that the light that's falling on her here is almost the exact same as it is 8 inches from her, which means that the background is going to be exposed correctly, and she is going to be exposed correctly. But for us to get that, we have to shoot this from way far away. So we're going to go to this camera over here, because that camera is about to go away when I set this up. I can see Jared looking at this umbrella going, oh, I want one of those. He's eyeing it. All right, so we're setting this up right here. And this just goes into the umbrella adapter, just like that. And then what I'll do is I'll turn on this light, turn off the modeling light, and then we'll put this about like that. And then what I'll do, I want this to be on-axis light. Okay, I want it to be totally on-axis. And so what I'll do here is I'm going to set this about right here. And then I'm going to raise it up just a hair. It's about like that. And that's shooting straight to Lex. Is that pretty much on target? There we go. All right. And your subject can help you to know if things are a little bit off kilter. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I am going to stand directly in front of this umbrella. I'm going to stand just like this when I shoot. What's going to happen is this light is just going to go right past me. It's just going to go right on by. And that'll give us nice directional light. And when it hits Lex, what's going to happen is we're going to get a nice shadowless shot. Now, I'm shooting this at ISO 100, and we're going to shoot at 6.3. Now, with this, 6.3, good. Let's see what happens, because I think we're going to have some TTL metering issues because of the background. But Lex is going to be all goofy and funny, as she is when she beats me in Flappy Bird. Stupid Flappy Bird game. We almost missed the webinar because we were playing Flappy Bird for, anyway, I won't bring that up. Okay, so let me actually shoot this again. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to show you this. We definitely have an exposure issue. And let me show you this. When this comes up, it's totally underexposed, absolutely underexposed. Why is it underexposed? Well, the white background, the camera thinks it should be gray. So this is the same thing if you're shooting in snow or if you're shooting a wedding dress or something where you want to have everything white. Through the lens metering, always gets fields of white wrong. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use our flash exposure compensation. We're going to bump it up by 2 stops. 2 stops. And that's normally what will happen. And there's Lex being all Flappy Bird winner. Okay, so all I did was change my flash exposure compensation. Matt, show this so we can see the extreme crazy change. Here it is. Boom. We have a completely shadowless white background with 1 light, which is really crazy. Now on this, I'm going to go into my develop settings because we need to do a couple things. I think that this is a little too warm, so I'm going to set this to a flash color temperature. Then we need to have a little bit more vibrance on this because that blue jacket needs to have some pop. Then we're going to increase the clarity just a bit. We could play with this. We can maybe warm up her legs just a little bit there. We can do all kinds of stuff there. But you can see that we have no shadows. There are no shadows behind her, on her. It is a completely shadowless shot. It's pretty cool. And this would work with groups. Jared, you want to help me out for a second? Jared's going to go stand by Lex. Ugo, can you go stand by Lex? Lance, you want to go stand by Lex really fast? Run, run, run. And I just want to prove to this could be, oh, there's the camera. This could be, I was talking to a camera that didn't exist. This could be a group of 30 people. It doesn't matter. It could be as many as you want. So everybody's there. And then with 1 light, whammo, check this out. Here it comes. We have yet another shot that's coming in. Ding. Check that out. And we can play with that. We can change our, so I think the exposure here is just a little hot, so I'd have to change that. But there you go. Completely shadowless group picture, and you could have many, many people in that same group, which is really cool. All right, we are almost out of time. Lex is going to go do magic and change her outfit and her hair, and I am going to actually answer some questions. And so, Ugo, if you'll take this umbrella so people can actually see me again, that'd be great. Like that. All right. Jared didn't know I was going to put him on in the video today. He's a good sport. Okay, so what we're going to do next is see what questions that we have. And I think we have time for one more lighting setup. And the question is, was that the soft light silver or white? So that umbrella was silver. And for that setup, you really need to have a lot of punch from your light. And that was actually, if we show you the back of this, I don't know, Paul, if you can show the back of that. You can see that this flash was absolutely at full power when we did that. So that was a full power 500 watt second flash, and it was shooting into umbrella about 15 or 20 feet from the subject. So that is quite a bit of power, something that you just couldn't even imagine doing that with a speed light. Okay, so the B1 is really designed to function alone and not necessarily with other lights in layered lighting situation. No, that's not the point at all. Today what we're trying to show you is what you can do with 1 light. But you can, the cool thing about this, and watch the very first webinar, you can shoot with 20 of these guys if you want. And with the Profoto Air remote system, you can shoot in 3 different zones. Actually, you can do more zones than that, but you can, on your TTL, you can do 3 different zones and do all kinds of light ratios. So you can do fill lights, you can do kicker lights, you can do glamour stuff, you can light up, you can do all kinds of things. And so what I'm trying to show today is all the different things you can do with just 1 light, but imagine what you could do if you had 4 or 6 of these guys. And so I had an idea to do a really very, well, I won't bring it up. Profoto said, not yet, it's too advanced, but I want to do another webinar where we have a bunch of these set up so we can show you how to layer all kinds of lights, because they are designed to work by themselves and with other lights. And they work terrific. And so, yes. All right. Oh, the beauty dish. The beauty dish was the soft white beauty dish. So they weren't asking about the umbrella. They were talking about the beauty dish. So yeah, that was a soft light. It was a white. It was the white. Ugo, can you grab that beauty dish really fast? And we'll show you. All right, so what we're going to do over here is I've got this is an RFI 2x3 softbox, and this has a grid on it. Now, I'm a huge fan of grids on softboxes and beauty dishes because I like having soft light, but I really, really like directional light. And so by putting a grid on your softbox, you get diffused light, but you maintain that direction that you get from sort of a harder light source. And so you get almost the best of both worlds. Again, I wish we had another 5 days to go through all the differences between a softbox with a grid and without a grid, and a big one and a small one, and all the different things you can do with the diffusion panels, and you can bend them and shape them, and all stuff to come on future webinars. Okay, yeah, let me see that. This is the beauty dish we use, so it's the soft white. That's what that is. So maybe you can see that. Cool. All right, here you go. All right, so you can put that back. All right, so Lex is going to come out here, and what we want to do with this setup is Lex is going to be sort of at the edge, and Ugo, you're actually in the shot now. There you go. I want to show, this is a very traditional, almost if you were shooting like a politician. That's what this setup would be, something that's a very, very traditional, soft kind of thing. So let's say maybe you were shooting the governor of Arizona, who the guy who's running the camera I'm looking into right now shoots regularly. But if you wanted something like that, this is the kind of setup that you would look into. So what I have is, again, this is in auto mode, full TTL mode. This grid, what it's going to allow us to do, it's going to allow us to have nice soft light, and this is going to be a portrait. We're going to be shooting about right there. So we're going to get nice soft light on Lex, but we can control how much light spills on the background, and so we can manipulate this, move it over, move it forward. We can do all kinds of things like that. Right now we're going to let the light sort of spill, and I'm going to have you come a little bit forward, just right to the edge of that. There we go. And I'm moving her closer to the softbox because the closer she is, the softer the light is. And so we have nice, soft side light. We're going to have you turn just a little bit. There you go. Good, just like that. And we're going to shoot this at 2.8 because I like shallow depth of field with portraits. So I'm going to make sure my flash exposure compensation is back to nothing, 2.8. And we're going to do this vertically because it's a portrait. And I'm just going to snap a shot. And wow. Now, if you have a Lex at your disposal, you can get great shots like this every time. So here's our nice, soft portrait. And notice that we have nice shadows underneath her chin. So we can see her jawline. It works great. We have some light spilling on the background. That's pretty cool. What I could do, because this is a softbox with a grid, I can manipulate this and move it over just a little bit. We're going to do the Dallas shot that you love. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a similar shot that we did with the beauty dish, but now with the softbox. And we'll compare those two. And we're going to try to keep that light from falling on the background there. There we go. And then Lex, if you will, no, you stay right there. You'll do exactly what you're doing. Perfect. I think I got, yeah, there we go. All right, now notice that this is, we have restrained the light, we've restricted it so it's not falling on the background there. The nice thing about this is notice we have nice, very, very soft light on her chin and nothing on the background. And with a grid, what this allows me to do, going right to that other person's question, is if I wanted to start shaping the light on the background, making it very directional, maybe put a gobo on there, make it look like there's some window light or something like that. Now I've separated the light that's on my subject from the light that's on my background, and I've done that with that grid. And so I'm able to do that. And then I can also do some things like, let's have you look a little bit more into the, yeah, just like that, perfect. She's getting to the point where she can read my brains. She knows what I want to do. So now what we have is something that is a little bit closer. I need to do some exposure changes there. But if I want to fill in those shadows, Ugo, if you grab that silver right there, we're going to have Ugo just hold this silver reflector here. Yeah, if you can just come and hold that right there. There you go. Yep, come on in. Come on in. There you go, hold it up. There you go. And I'll tell you when to stop. So keep coming on in, Ugo. Closer still. Stop right there. Good. Okay. Perfect, you can hold that. So watch what happens to the shadows on this shot here. We'll have the shadows that are after, so this is before, after. And so this is still popping in. But with the single light, what we were able to do is we were able to control the light falling on the background. We can still shape that, but we have nice soft light on our subject, and we only had to use one light. You can look also at the catch lights, and we have these square catch lights, which I said I wasn't a fan of, but in a situation like this, I'm a huge fan of the square catch light because this emulates, what I would do in the background is I would try to emulate light coming in from a window or something and make it a little bit more artificial. But the catch light on her eye would match the light that I'd put on the background, and so it would actually look like window light, which is really cool. Okay, we now have no more time. We're out of time. Thank you very much, Lex. Let me see if I have one more question here. But if not, we will be done. Okay, so so the thing I want to mention, we didn't get to them because we have a table back there with all kinds of different light shapers. Every single light shaper that Profoto makes is compatible with the B1. Every single one from the very first time that Profoto made a light shaper to today, they are compatible with the B1. They're compatible with any Profoto light, the Acute 2s, the D1s, the new the Pro 8s, Pro 7s, the Acute Packs, all of them. They're all compatible. So if you buy one Profoto head and a billion Profoto modifiers, you can always use them on future modifiers, and it's really cool. All right, so don't forget, you can go to profoto.com/B1, and that's where you get all the information on the B1, and you can see other webinars by going to profoto.com/webinar. And if you want to see all about the light shaping tools, profoto.com/products. And we will be back, I believe, on the 19th of next month for another webinar on Wednesday, the 19th. And so you don't want to miss that one. We're going to do more light shaping, more B1 stuff. And so I want to say thanks. Come on out, Lex, really fast. Say thanks to Lex for being our model. Yay! And then Paul's back there, or Ugo's back there. And Paul's running this camera, Lance is on that camera, and Matt's running the switcher, and Jared, hi for you. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And we will join you again next month on the 19th. We'll see you there.